And happy Mother's Day. Glad you could all make it through this drizzly, drizzly weather. Today we're going to talk about transformation. And when I picked this topic, it was 2 months ago, and I had no idea what I was going to talk about, as usual. They say, quick, give a topic, give the name of your lecture. And you go, okay, I'll talk about transformation. And then when it comes time to give the lecture, you go, I wonder what I was thinking about. So I decided, what do we think about when transformation? So of course I went to the internet, and it said immediately that transformation is a complete change in appearance. And I thought, well, that's not at all what I meant. So I went a little further, and I got to the Cambridge Dictionary meaning, and it was much more to what I was thinking about, obviously. A complete change in the appearance or character of something or someone, especially one that where the thing or person is improved. Now, I think that's what we in Vedanta, in religion, in anything, we are interested in this because we want to improve. We either want to improve our relationships, our external life, our friendships, our internal life. We're not satisfied somewhere. We're not satisfied with exactly who we are. I have yet to meet anyone who is completely satisfied with their appearance, their relationships, the way they interact with people, and the way they behave. Everyone always, after a certain amount of time, thinks, well, I could have done that a little differently. I might not have hurt that person. I wonder if I said something that was hurtful. And I think all of us have that experience of, I could have done it better. Now, external transformation, boy, have we seen it this year. We have seen the hills burn, we have seen houses demolished, landscape completely transformed, and this is what we're dealing with. In Vedanta and in our religion says that the world is illusory, that Maya is a dream. Well, yes, in the ultimate sense, but not while we're in it. It is real, and it's what we have to deal with. The world is real to us every single day until we realize the God behind it. And then we can see that, yes, the events are happening to us. Yes, these things happen. But they're not affecting us because we are one with that divinity that is behind everything and in everything. So we become like actors on a stage. We're playing our role. We have to play it well, or people won't like the play. They'll just plain leave. So you want to be a good actor. You want to play your role well. You want to interact with people in the best possible manner. Some of us have, some people have heroic roles. Some people have the role that is not so coveted. They're the ones who have maybe not the perfect actions, the perfect looks, the perfect anything, but it's their role to play, and they must do it well, to the very best of their ability. There was a story in one of the Puranas or something about a snake who bit everyone that came along, and this snake bit everyone. It bit everyone. Poisonous snake, rattlesnakes in our area. And finally someone said, why did they have to do that? And they said, well, they're worshiping God in what God has given them. So it helps us to hold off on judgments of how people are behaving or what's happening. Why did this happen to me? Why did my home get destroyed? Why me? These things are questions that haunt every one of us. I think it haunts everyone in Santa Barbara. How did this happen to Santa Barbara? We're a good community. We're a caring community. It's not about us. It's a fact of nature. That's all. And how we deal with all of these things that happen is what forms our character. There was a card once that said, it's not the experiences you have that matter, it's what you do with them. And this is what we all have to remember. We're going to have good experiences, bad experiences. Things that make us happy, things that really, we go, yuck. What is that about? But it's how we deal with these experiences that form our character. Now, how can we transform our character? Or do we want to? And what is transformation? A complete change in appearance or character. Okay? Easy ones. When I said to Pravrajika, what is transformation? She said, butterflies. And I went, oh yeah, chrysalis. First we have the little crawly thing that everyone goes, ew. And then you get the chrysalis, and then out of it comes this gorgeous butterfly. But the butterfly was always there. This is simply a time change of uncovering what was always there. That's what we try to do with our transformation of character. All we try to do is uncover, take off veil after veil of ignorance and find the God within. Because that is the reason we are born on this earth. To realize God. To realize our own divinity and our own nature. That's it. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Well, it isn't. Because at the same time, we are given an ego which says, I'm in charge. It's not someone greater than me. It's not the divine. It's me. I can make that change. And our senses all tell us, if I had that, I could be happy. This ego leads us further and further away from our divine nature. We have this, it's like being led by the nose. Our senses lead us out, our desires lead us out, and we get further and further away from our center. It's amazing when someone in their youth feels a dissatisfaction with the externals. Because youth is the time when we are particularly drawn outside. As we get older, the outside is not quite so attractive, but we still get sidetracked. When we encounter the natural disasters that we have just encountered, and I think the whole city goes, what really is important in our lives? Is it the house I had? Is it the things I've had? Is it, what is important? Is it my friendships? Are the people that I love more important than the things that I have? What do I really want out of life? And I think most of us only ask that question when we encounter the threat or the nearness of death. We start to think about, how have I led my life? Is it what I wanted to do? Well, the beauty of having a religion or having a path that you want to follow is that you can start working on the transformation so you don't have those questions when you get to the time of old age and death. You can be satisfied with what you have done with your life. You have done your best. You have made the choices that you feel are necessary for good relationships. You actually do have a certain amount of control. We have choices every day, and we choose how we want to live our lives. That's basically it. And they're silly little choices like, golly, do I have to go to the lecture today? I'd really rather stay home and curl up with a cup of tea and a good book. We choose things every single day. Do I have to make that commitment that I said I would do? I really don't feel like it now. Those are the kinds of choices we have. And how you choose is what directs the rest of it directs your life and how it's going. I remember when my father was dying, and a hospice nurse went into him and said, "Is there anyone you want to settle things with, or do you have any regrets?" Now, this is a question that if you're dying, you want to answer. Do I have regrets? Are there things left unfinished? We don't want to end our lives like that. We want to end our lives feeling that we have done the best we could do. I know it sounds really dismal, but they say all of life is nothing but preparation for death. That is really dismal. And personally, I know it's true, but I think we should enjoy ourselves on the way. I don't think we should concentrate on that. Know it, do the right thing, but enjoy yourself, because this is an illusion, okay, but it's God's creation. And if we can realize that and get to the point where we know that God is in every single person we meet, in every single thing we see, then what's not to enjoy? Everything we see and everyone we meet is we can worship God in them. And we can enjoy ourselves. We can have a good time. Can you get that with things? The external world things. Personally, I'm still looking for the perfect vacuum cleaner. I really am. The one we have now is really good, but it's heavy. And I'm thinking there must be a perfect vacuum cleaner out there somewhere. You know, I may find it, I may not find it, but it makes life kind of interesting looking around for it, and I try different ones. But can we ever be completely satisfied with those things? We can be happy with them for a while. And then there's, oh, golly, they made a better one. I better see what that is. So we get restless, we get anxious, we get worried about, should I get it or shouldn't I get it? Oh, it costs too much money. But are we really anxious and restless about that vacuum cleaner? I doubt it. I think what makes us anxious and restless in this life is the restlessness for the eternal. for what will be forever, what will make us immortal. What is there in creation that, or outside of creation, that is eternal? Eternal knowledge, eternal bliss, eternal truth. We're all looking for immortality. The fear of death is probably one of the greatest fears people have. They think it's the end. But it isn't the end. It's actually just the beginning. In Vedanta, we have the firm belief in reincarnation. So everyone here has been here before and will probably be here again. And yet we really won't. We really always are. Our bodies will change. The time supposedly will change. But the divine core of us will never change. That divine core is what we're looking for. We want to know it. And I say see it. You can't see it because seeing is part of the senses. But you have to know it to transcend everything. We say we want to see it. I still say I would like to see God. Now I know that's impossible because seeing is an external sense organ. But I still have the firm belief that I can transcend and know that. But I was raised in the Episcopal Church, and I thought one of the most beautiful things in the world was, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." And I thought, what a wonderful promise. What a wonderful promise. Blessed are the pure in heart. So all you have to do is make your heart pure. Easy, right? Yeah, I'm not gonna get even with that person for cutting me off on the freeway. I'm not even going to feel angry about it. Well, maybe a little. But the pure heart doesn't even notice it. Those are just facts of existence. Let me see. I did make some notes. Yeah. So our basic job in transforming ourselves, we're all good at transforming the externals. We are. We can all build a new garden. We can design a new house. We can fix things. We can make things beautiful. But the subtlety of transforming our character is a little different. I think it was Michelangelo when asked how he did his sculptures. He just said, I take away the unnecessary, and the form is there. So he started with a gigantic block of marble, and he took away what was unnecessary. And what emerged was the Pietà. This is what we have to do with ourselves. Take away the non-eternal. We just take away the veil that is hiding our real nature. I can't remember what the name of the sculpture, if someone knows it, the one that he did not finish, I think on purpose, where the man is coming out of the block of granite and muscularly coming out, pulling himself out of this block of granite. And it really, does anyone know the name of that one? Well, it's one of the most astounding sculptures I have ever seen, because you look at it and you think, how does he know what's unnecessary? How does he see it? It's a different sensibility. And in some ways, I think that artists like that have a certain transcendent vision. Swami Brahmananda, who was one of the direct disciples of Ramakrishna, when asked, what was the spiritual life like? What was this? He said, well, show me the line of demarcation where spirit begins, where matter ends and spirit begins. He saw spirit in everything. Everything was throbbing spirit, much like Einstein was quite devoted to Brahmananda. He read The Eternal Companion quite often, and he saw the world as throbbing energy. So matter and spirit were very much a fluid state where they did not, we tend to see solid demarcations. This is a thing, and spirit is something else. But these two men for sure have seen a different universe than I see with my eyes. So if we can take, I think Stephen Hawking probably saw a different universe than we saw with our eyes too. But when they see in that cosmic sense, they're getting closer to the eternal. A few years ago when they said that wasn't it, what was it called? I can't remember. The God, what was it called? The God? God particle, yeah. Thank you. The God particle that started the cosmic thing. Now that is pretty far out for a scientist to say it's a God particle, because the two seem to be at odds. But not when you go Vedantically into transformation. If it is simply taking off veil after veil after veil and uncovering the eternal nature, it could be the God particle. It wouldn't be a particle, however. So that's what transformation would be in that would be, and where do we start with that kind of transformation? What can we do on a daily basis? Okay, the place to start, which Ramakrishna always said, the austerity of this age is truth. That's it. We should all try to be truthful in our actions and our words. Now, can we think of how we go through each day? Do we tell the truth all the time? Do we embellish what we see or encounter? Add a little to it. If someone once said, it was about someone who was long gone, she never ruined a good story by the truth. The good story was first. Now, Ramakrishna, when he saw Swami Brahmananda, long before he was Brahmananda, when he was Rakhal, saw him one day as he came to visit him, and he looked at him and he said, "There's a cloud over you. What? Have you told any lies?" And Brahmananda said, "I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything." And then finally he said, was it a joke? He had told a joke to someone that was not necessarily, it wasn't the truth. And that was how carefully they watched what they said. If Ramakrishna said he was going somewhere, he had to go no matter what. If he said he was going to do something, he had to do it no matter what. Now this sounds pretty grim. Do I always have to tell the truth? Can I make fun of some things? Swami Vivekananda, who was very, very funny and very quick and adhered to truth, was on a train one time in Scotland, and he was traveling along, and they were, they were in a car, and there was another man in there, and he was very, Swami was in his, probably, doubt if he had a turban on, but he probably had a long red coat on. And the Scotsman said to him, "Tell me, sir, what is the difference between a babu and a baboon?" And Swamiji looked at him and he said, "Not much. Sort of like the difference between a sot and a Scot." So, they don't have to be, he did not tell any lies in that. He simply retorted. And one letter, Sot and Scot, Babu and Baboon. You don't have to lose your sense of humor. You don't have to become, oh, everything everyone says is just fine. No. Become who you really are. Become that immortal, divine self, where you're comfortable with who you are. You're not trying to make other people happy. This is a great thing in the Western society. We feel we have to make everyone we meet feel comfortable and happy. True, make them feel comfortable, but don't change yourself. Don't give yourself away doing it. People are often much happier. In fact, I think they are much happier if you're yourself, comfortable with yourself, then they can be themselves and comfortable with themselves. So our transformation is peeling off those layers that we have put on either in this life or in the last life. We all come in with samskaras, and we all have certain reactions and actions that we don't know where they came from, even as small children. I think anyone who has children or knows children, siblings do not behave the same way. They each have their own personalities. And you go, wow, those two kids are really different, but they're and it starts right at birth. And you kind of look at them and you go, where did that come from? Well, according to us, it's from samskara, from the previous life. You're born with certain tendencies. And those tendencies are what you deal with. They're part of the reason we are reborn. So we can learn to overcome them. We're put in exactly the position that we need to be. We chose the position that we're in so that we can work out our transformation to our real nature. We all think it's happening to us. Nuh-uh. We chose it before we were born. So we all have the ability to grow and transform ourselves. And one of the most, well, I won't say controversial, but sometimes hard to understand people in the life of Ramakrishna is Girish Ghosh. Now, many of you might be familiar with him. He was the father of Bengal theater. This was in the late 1800s. the British were in control. Girish Ghosh was a very, very sophisticated, urbane, westernized Bengali. He drank, he went to prostitutes, he cheated on his wife, he did all kinds of things. And yet, he always felt there was something missing. And he absolutely abhorred the idea of a saint or a God-man. But he checked them all out, which says something about his samskaras. So he was taken to Ramakrishna by someone who knew him, and he took one look at him and thought, well, I don't understand what that man is doing, and went off. And as I say, he drank considerably. Usually Hindus do not drink, but he was known for being drunk at the playhouse, drunk in the street, all this kind of thing. He was taken to visit Sri Ramakrishna again, invited to a house, and he looked at him and he said, I don't know what he's doing. He's lying there on a bolster, not doing anything, and then he goes out of consciousness, and this is just ridiculous. But he came back the third time, and he decided, he asked Ramakrishna, I'll read what he wrote. I went to Dakshineshwar, which is where Sri Ramakrishna lived, and found Sri Ramakrishna seated on the southern porch of his room. He was talking to a young devotee named Bhavanath. I prostrated myself before Sri Ramakrishna and mentally recited the verse, Guru is Brahman, Guru is Vishnu, Guru is the Lord Maheshwara, the God of gods. Ramakrishna said, I was just talking about you. If you don't believe me, ask Bhavanath. After a while, he started to give me some spiritual advice. I stopped him saying, I won't listen to any advice. I've written cartloads of it myself. It doesn't help. Do something that will transform my life. Hearing these words, Sri Ramakrishna was highly pleased. Ramlal, his nephew, was present. Sri Ramakrishna asked him to recite a particular hymn, which ran thus, Go into solitude and shut yourself in a cave. Peace is not there. Peace is where faith is, for faith is the root of all. I saw a smile playing on Sri Ramakrishna's lips, and I felt at that moment that I was free of all impurities. And at that moment, my arrogant head bowed low at his feet. My heart, in him, I found my sanctuary, and all my fear was gone. My heart was filled with joy. I felt as if I were born anew. I was a totally changed man. There was no more doubt or conflict in my mind. God is real. God is my sanctuary. Now I can easily realize God. Fearless am I. I have found my own. The world can no longer bind me, for even the greatest fear, fear of death, is gone. Now this would be wonderful if this did happen, by the way. He was a very, very famous man. However, he didn't give up drinking that night. He would still show up at Ramakrishna drunk sometimes, berating him sometimes, but he did become basically a saint. Girish Ghosh was one of the most well-known people in helping the plight of women in India. The actresses in his theater were given a great deal of freedom and money, so they did not have to be prostitutes anymore, because it had been traditional that all women prostitutes became actresses. He took that onus off all of the actresses in India. He became a man women's lib, women's rights, still wrote plays, very successful plays, and in the end talked about nothing but God and Sri Ramakrishna. So his life literally was transformed that day, though it took a little while for the externals to catch up. And is our transformation maybe not that instantaneous? But can we have a gradual transformation? Can we work on a trait that we want to have? The Buddhists, compassion seems to, loving compassion seems to be the trait that they emphasize. This is wonderful. Loving compassion is a wonderful trait to have. It's a freeing trait. You will have realization if you can become that loving, compassionate person. Because to be that, you see God in everyone. You worship every single person you see as divine. Is it truth that you want to pursue? Then pursue truth. Is it an incarnation of God that you want to give your heart to? Do that. If you want to give your heart to Jesus or to Mother Mary, yes, do it. If you want to give your heart to Krishna, to Kali, any one of these names are nothing but manifestations of God. And any one of them that you give your heart and mind to, you will realize your own divinity. I'm going to end with this little section of the Gita. It's the final two paragraphs of the description of an illumined man. Illumined means God realized. Water flows continually into the ocean, but the ocean is never disturbed. Desire flows into the mind of the seer, but he is never disturbed. The seer knows peace. The man who stirs up his own lusts can never know peace. He knows peace who has forgotten desire. He lives without craving, free from ego, free from pride. This is the state of enlightenment in Brahman. A man does not fall back from it into delusion. Even at the moment of death, he is alive in that enlightenment. Brahman and he are one. Thank you. Now, since it's Mother's Day, I think I'm going to end with one of Holy Mother's sayings rather than a chant. She said, "My child, whenever you feel alone, whenever you're afraid, don't be. Know that you have a mother." And everyone does.